All right. All right, people. All right. Everyone sit down. I know everyone's excited for winter break. I know everyone's excited that it's the last class of the semester, but you still got to learn something today, damn it. All right. So sit your asses down. We're loose today. We're going to have fun. We're all adults. Grab yourself a beverage, right? And we're going to have some fun because this is going to be a nice discussion. I'm your professor for today, Mista Malave, a.k.a. Matthew Malave, the longest reigning, defending Who You Got champion. 600 days, by the way, and counting. And you know what? The more things change, the more they stay the same, baby. Because another year is coming to a close with your boy still as champ. And I plan on being your champ for the near future. And don't you worry, because I plan on defending it as much as I can. I'm going to be a fighting champion. I've been a fighting champion. You know what it is? No one's ever challenged me. And when people challenge me, the same outcome happens. They lose. They talk shit, they leave, and they lose. Except for somebody else. I mean, he did lose. He's not going anywhere, though. It's, let's take some roll call first, and I'm going to go with, I see you over there, buddy. I see you over there with your Coca-Cola. I see you. It's Tommy James, the smooth effect himself. How you doing?
What's going on, Mr. Malave?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing really well.
600 days.
600 days, man. 600 days. It feels good.
Roman Reigns.
How's that ass feeling from that ass whooping at WinterCon?
We
all healed up
as discussed prior on a prior episode. Again, I feel that the one part was wrong, but that's just me. And yeah, it stung. It stung a little bit. But I know, like you said, there's more to come. There's big cons that are up. One's coming right around the corner. So I think it's going to get more difficult for you, sir, because you not only got to deal with me, there's another person waiting for their chance, looking for a championship as well. So
that's true. And she happens to be in the room, too. She's enrolled, right? She's here. You've heard her all semester, right? She did lose her first Who You Got challenge, but she got her feet wet. She got their little feet wet in there. And I have more faith in her in getting to a championship match more than I have in you, sir, because you have a great opportunity and you always do great getting to the championship match. But you just never could win the big ones.
We've already established I'm really good at promo videos, and that's about it. I'm very good at hyping it up. I make it
that
clear
is true.
something's happening.
You are a great man. Maybe you should just like stop going for the championship and just be my wise man.
I was going to say, you want me to be Paul Heyman?
That's it, man. Just, you know what I mean?
If you acknowledge
me, we can go right from there.
I'm good. Thanks.
Oh, all right. No doubt. Sabrina Ace, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I mean, you are right about Tommy's promo videos. They are so inspiring. I felt like I could win. But, only losing by 1 point, I feel pretty accomplished knowing that was my first. So I feel like maybe I have a chance next year, We'll come back from Christmas break and we'll find out. But, congratulations on your 600 days.
Thank you,
Mr. Champ.
Thank you.
She hasn't even tasted a real Who You Got challenge, though.
Oh, no. It gets, when that belt's up for grabs.
We haven't had... But not even that. Like when me and her did it, it was movies, but she hasn't tasted. Okay, Sabrina has not touched a true Who You Got challenge. 16 characters.
Oh, no.
Where it goes.
16 characters.
That's next, actually.
Watching you guys go through it, my God, it's crazy.
No, you don't know.
Out comes a promo video and you're like, hype.
No.
Yeah, but
wait till you're involved.
Those are stipulations, but you're talking about the OG. This is the OG, like the legit. When we go to the big cons, we do it original style. We do the 4 from movies, 4 from TV, 4 from video games, and 4 from comic books. You get 16 characters, I get 16 characters, and we just go to town until there's one, and then we go to the cons, and then your character represents you. All or nothing on them.
That's right. And sabotage gets involved. Guests start showing up, and just sometimes they have the sabotage. we're gonna as always, we will spice it up for the next
Yes.
one when we do something big, because
Yes.
we have to.
We
have
will.
to keep it interesting. So I'm excited for the
We
next one.
always
But like
do.
I said, Sabrina, you're going to feel what a true challenge is when you got to pick those 4. Well, from each, when you got to pick all the 16 characters, and you got to remember there's rules to this shit. You need to make sure that is their origin. So you ain't getting Michael Keaton's Batman in this. It's not happening because
Oh,
it's
no.
Batman from the comic books.
Yeah,
I wouldn't
shit
pick
gets
Michael
her.
Keaton's Batman.
You
anyway.
might
I
want
love
to.
him, but no.
Might want to. Jack Frost, you could pick him.
You may want to. You could definitely pick Jack Frost, definitely.
Jack Frost Batman.
No, Jack Frost. From the Frost Band.
There's rules with
From
combining
the Frost Man,
characters.
the Frost
Remember,
Man himself.
we used to have. There's a rule with combining characters.
Symbiotes.
Symbiotes get involved, and we've created some very interesting characters with that.
Very, very interesting. You know what? We're getting off topic,
flying
and me
away.
as
We're
your
flying away.
as your instructor for this evening, we got to get back on topic because we're going to talk Who You Got challenges, but it's something different, right? Because it is the last class. I wanted to have a little bit of fun, and I wanted to bring something back, right? And just for talking point purposes, I know if everyone hasn't seen the videos all on our IG, on our Tickety Talk, if you haven't, you better go and like, subscribe, and roll and listen to how we got those characters, how we got to 3 stages of winter, and what happened at WinterCon. But here's a quick recap. We had 3 stages, all right? One was best winter-based horror movies, right? Second stage was best holiday songs. And if we got to the 3rd stage, Tommy and I had secret characters waiting in the wing to battle it out. And we didn't know our characters until recently. And we're not gonna tell everybody else. We're not gonna tell everybody else. We're not gonna do that because that matchup may happen.
It's possible
down the road. But we had The Shining versus The Thing as the movies, and then we had Feliz Navidad versus Jingle Bell Rock. All right. And Feliz Navidad whooped that ass. Right. And that was mine. And The Thing versus The Shining, that was a close vote. I won with The Shining. But it was such a close vote, and it went back and forth. If you haven't seen the videos, go and see them. Because the arguments people were making were amazing, right? To the point where it's just like, yes, that's over. It's got decided that The Shining was the better movie to the people at the con. But it is only right that for our last class, we discuss that stage because we love horror movies. We love these 2 horror movies, and we're going to decide. We're going to break it all down, tie it up in a bow, and we're going to decide finally what is the better winter-based horror movie. Is it The Thing or is it The Shining? How do you like that, guys? What do you think?
Oh, let's do it.
Let's do it. So at first, let's all put our glasses up to a beautiful semester. Clink, 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 and cheers to the messenger.
To the messenger.
To the messenger.
And let's just dive into it. All right. We're going to talk about it. We're just going to go round robin and we're going to decide what's the better movie. And now I don't want you to be like, it's that one and that's it. No, we're going to we're going to talk about this. All right. We're going to talk about it.
Use
The
logic.
Thing versus The Shining. Yes, of course. Of course.
Try to use some
All right.
logic to it, unlike the people that were at WinterCon that just kept throwing out some absolute nonsense. All they can talk about, hey, what's the better movie? You can't beat Jack. You can't beat... I didn't ask you who the better actor was, sir, ma'am. I asked you, what is the better movie? And everybody that picked The Shining answered Jack Nicholson. I'm not saying that Jack Nicholson was horrible in The Shining, because that's a bunch of bullshit. Okay, Jack Nicholson, top notch. Shelley Duvall, top notch in that movie. But that doesn't make a movie. One person cannot make a movie.
Yes and no. And I think this is the perfect way to start this, right? Let's talk about the casts, right? So you're saying, oh, it doesn't make the movie. But then what really does, right? Like, let's talk about the cast right now. We had those 2 characters from The Shining, right? And everyone's talking about, but it's them. They did such an amazing job. If the actor sucked, right, would the movie be as good?
Well,
I think that's what people have an issue with, separating that an actor can be fantastic and act the crap out of a role, but if the writing sucks, then it's going to fall. Same with vice versa.
Yeah.
You could have a very well-written movie and your actors and actresses absolutely bomb. It's going to make it terrible. You need both for it to be successful.
That's right. I have to agree 1,000%. And, you know, when you're talking about The Shining, so we'll stick to The Shining, obviously, right now because we're already on it. The screenplay was already there for you. It's a book. It's already written. Here's the story. And Stanley Kubrick had to just take it and make it his own. So the writing in it is perfect. You know, Stephen King, his books are great. And a lot of his adaptations don't tend to actually nail it. They tend to fall flat. This one was one of the major ones.
From your argument right there, isn't that like a test to how good the movie is then? Because not every adaptation from Stephen King's great scriptures got turned into a good movie.
Because most of them were TV movies.
Right.
I mean, let's think about this. Besides The Shining, what other one was put into theater at that time? Not this time, because obviously it's changed. So Pet Sematary, was that in theater? Or was that a TV movie? I mean, that we're talking, most of them all came out in the 90s. It was put on television.
Yeah, that was first.
And a lot of people disliked, well, I know as kids we all really, I would assume we all kind of enjoyed it, but most people were just talking about Tim Curry as Pennywise and how great he was. That's character acting, but a lot of them complain about the writing. It's one of the biggest issues when it comes to, a lot of fucking directors that try to write also suck, but I don't remember what else was actually in theater though. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I know The Shining.
I don't know. Maybe Children of the Corn? No?
Maybe. It was shot in a way. He wrote Children of the Corn?
So I'm not sure. I'll check that out. I thought he did.
Keep going.
But either way, the Pet Sematary did go into the movies.
All right, so it wasn't theater.
The box office. Yeah, so it was, let's see. 1989.
Okay.
1989 was Pet Sematary. It was in the movie theater. And
1989, yeah, you're right. Stand By Me.
Yeah, and wow, Stand By Me.
Here's another big one. Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank, yep, Shawshank.
Carrie, Green Mile. Okay, you know what? I'm going to take back my thing because Misery, Green Mile.
Take a break. I need you to take a break now. Yep.
The Mist.
I'm like looking at this list and I keep
Christine.
The list I'm looking at, they listed them all out of order, but they're all the theatrical releases. So it's like I have to scroll through to
because let's see, Christine was in 76. All right, so he had plenty of movies that came out in theater based on the writing.
Exactly,
and actually a lot.
I feel like that
a lot of these
roster
movies
alone,
are
it was just like, oh, we got something made for TV because you know what, he has so many books. Let's just like somebody else with a smaller budget. Let's just get it on the fucking TV. You know what I mean? But all these bigger ones up on there. But the point is here, guys, right? Like, and we getting into Stephen King because you're saying the whole thing about the actors themselves, right? Like, so you had the great subtext with Stephen King, but your point was that like it was already laid out there for you, right?
Yes.
And like you also said, in contract to your point, is that like not everything gets adapted like the best way, right? And it sucks sometimes. It's like great premise, great subtext. You just stick to the script. I don't know how many times we've had arguments where we're like, just stick to the script is right there. This is a point where they stuck to the script. It was an amazing premise, amazing screenwrite, and then they had the right actors there execute amazingly. So now we get to the movie that we're comparing it to, right? And The Thing has a bigger cast, a way bigger cast than The Shining, right? You're talking about what? The Shining had maybe 6 people, 7 people. I mean, you include like, I guess the bartenders, the twins, who else? The old lady and the young lady, ghost, crazy, ugly looking bitches.
Yeah, they
right?
play factors.
You're talking about like maybe 10 people, right? Maybe. The Thing, how many, like, now you're talking about The Thing, still kind of relative. Maybe it's the same. It's like maybe like 15 people, right? Like 15 people, right? Out of those 15 people, what you have just like Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell.
He like him,
Keith David,
maybe like Keith David and
Richard
what's his other
Dreiser.
guy's name? Richard Dreiser. Yeah. So out of those, we get those top threes, right? And they kind of like carrying the movie, right? Definitely
Yeah.
just carrying.
I mean, those are popular names at that time.
I
right.
feel like Kurt
right.
Russell just could have carried it anyway.
Well, that's
That's it,
what
right? I
is.
feel like it was just him.
Kurt Russell was really good in that movie. Like he just played that badass asshole, don't give a shit kind of character. And at that point in time, especially around those years, Kurt Russell, that's what he did. He was just this action hero, badass motherfucker. And I feel when you look at the way the cast is, because they're two different kinds of movies, the cast is selected for certain reasons. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jack Nicholson plays a really good crazy son of a bitch. If you've seen one,
you're not.
Well,
You're
One
not
Flew Over the
necessarily
Cuckoo's
going to
Nest.
get an actor that's like you're not going to cast Jack Nicholson for a Kurt Russell role. Like of course you're going to find an actor that fits that archetype for you.
Right.
Right, but I feel like the major reason that makes Jack really great in this movie is how he utilizes his face.
His blank stare is terrifying.
His stare, his smile, the way he's able to, like you even said, like when he's just staring at the window, just a psychotic motherfucker. I mean, this guy was in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he's fantastic in that too. So you got two different kind of leads here. You know, this is, I would say that The Shining is definitely more drama filled than what you have here when you look at The Thing, which keep in mind, The Thing is also an adaptation. It is a book. It's a book and an original film. So, but they completely took whatever was in the book and was like, we're just going to take a few pieces here and there, and we're just going to create our own little way of doing it. But when you got somebody like Kurt Russell, I mean, he's just front and center. Once the first moment we see him is he's in front of a computer playing chess against the computer. And then as he begins to lose, he opens it up, takes his liquor, and pours it in there so the thing fucking explodes. No care whatsoever. That's why I always loved that character of McReady. He's just a bad motherfucker. And if we notice, especially with The Thing, towards the end, do you think it's Keith David or do you think it's McReady? Because they've made it clear one of them is a thing. So who would you say?
What did you say last time that only the two actors and the director know about it? Like, that's it?
Only three of them. Only Keith David, Kurt Russell, and John Carpenter. The only three people that know who's a thing and who's not. I think it's Keith David because we're with McReady the entire time. And I think that The Thing itself is more afraid of Kurt Russell because he's a bad motherfucker. The Thing in the long run wasn't really trying to harm anybody at first.
But wouldn't you say you would take out whatever one poses the greater threat? So wouldn't that be McReady?
I mean, I don't know, because you got to it's trying to mimic. That's what it does. It technically mimics what you are, and it creates itself in your image. It probably wouldn't affect his ass because he's such a crazy motherfucker. He's like the Deadpool of this movie.
Right. But if it's just him and, oh my God.
I think it was more of a fear thing.
Childs.
Yeah, Childs is Keith David.
If it's just him and Childs left, then, I mean, do you think Childs would notice?
Notice a difference?
Yeah.
A difference in Kurt Russell's character? As in, notice a different. I mean,
if the Thing takes over McReady, do you think Childs would notice after everything that he's been through? Like,
see, I
feel like after all of that, just being like the adrenaline rush, and then that sensation of thinking like, oh, it's over. I don't think he would notice.
So you're saying Kurt Russell's the thing,
but they both at that point when they sit down are looking at each other.
It's a toss-up, but like I feel like I want to say it's Kurt Russell.
Where? So when did that happen?
A split second.
You're with him the entire time.
Yeah. And I feel like that's the argument right there, right? Like, so Childs, right? Like Keith David's character was off screen for a while, right?
Yes.
We were with Kurt Russell the whole entire time. And not only that, because things can also happen in the mix of all this gunfire and all this chaos, right? But I don't think us seeing him murdering these the thing and all the creatures and everything else like that, I don't think if he was possessed and he was the thing, he wouldn't kill the other species, right? Because like it's not all about just one over the other. No, they actually want to adapt. So the strength in numbers for them will be better. So I don't think there was a logical reason for him to kill the big creature at the end if he was in fact infected, unless it happened afterwards. Like while it blew up or something, boom, it happened afterwards. You know?
In my head, it happens afterwards, and I just like the thought of the storytelling of being like, you've been with this hero the whole time, yet he still isn't safe.
It's
I love
an interesting theory because, and that's what I really love about that movie. Actually, both of these movies, let's think about it. Like towards the end of The Shining, is you get to see Jack in that photo, you know, and you're sitting there being like, wait, so he was there?
He was there?
He was there at that time?
Is he dead?
So exactly, like it leaves up questioning of being like, both of these movies leave you up with a scratch in the head. You know, we start thinking to yourself, wait, what the fuck did I just watch?
Right, because it's almost like we've seen him come in there with his family and stuff like that. But then the caretaker kind of looked at him in the beginning, very like the black guy, right? He's like the caretaker, I guess, that he was leaving, right? Yeah. So he kind of looked at Jack kind of crazy too, like almost like if he resembled him in a way, like he knew who he was. You know, and he's asking all these detailed questions, and you're almost like, wait a minute, do they know each other? Or does he seem like he knows him from somewhere?
Right.
You know, and then we get left with that cliffhanger at the end with the picture, and you're like, oh shit, maybe. You know what I mean? Or that's just another way, and this is why I love The Shining. It's a psychological thriller, unlike The Thing is more of like, you know, an action horror. You know what I mean?
It's aliens.
Yes, yeah, basically it's like aliens. Like the psychological horror behind The Shining, it's almost like, you know, take it as you may. Like, you know what I mean? Like, is it because like maybe he escaped or something, try to start a new life, and the more disconnected from that hotel, he forgot about all this shit, you know what I mean? And then as he came back to the hotel, the memories kept flooding back, which is why every day he gets a little bit more, you know, kind of crazier. Who knows? I don't know. I'm just assuming, right? But
Like
that's what's
sleeper
great.
agent.
Right, exactly. You know, and that's what I feel like that's why this is great when we're discussing both these movies, right? Because they have kind of similarities no matter how like different they are.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know what I mean? Those both cliffhangers and the what ifs throughout the whole entire time. It's almost like shit. Like, you know?
I think that's what makes both movies, like I said, I think that's what makes both movies really awesome is the fact that towards the end, you really sit there to wonder what have I just watched? Like how you're saying like the Shining is a psychological thriller. I could argue the fact that so is The Thing, because the whole movie, you don't know what's going on. You don't know who to trust. And without The Thing, you may not have a Scream. You know, I mean, we're talking Wes Craven, John Carpenter. I mean, these guys, they were buddies and all this type of shit. The fact that we're now in the years and the time of horror where it's who is or what they've done, you know, who could it be? Is it a friend of yours? I don't know. Like, you know, Scream is a perfect example because it turns out it was the fucking two people you were hanging out with this entire time. So it's that whole who, what if, and The Thing really brought that up to, you know, to purpose, brought it right into your face where it's like, you don't know who's a good guy, who's a bad guy, who's on your side, who's already dead this entire time. I mean, the movie starts off with a fucking dog. Okay. That's The Thing. And we have to wait.
The distrust for me in the whole movie.
And and it's a husky too, and I love huskies. But we had to wait years, 20 years pretty much, to finally see the beginning of the movie in the long run. I mean, we waited years to get to the sequel of The Shining, which is Dr. Sleep.
Right.
But that focused on the actual point of The Shining. The book, The Shining, and the movie doesn't really focus on The Shining, which is what's going on with Danny. The Dr. Sleep focuses on The Shining. That's the whole purpose of, I forgot the girl's name, the one with the hat. But that's her purpose. She's like, I'm taking the kids that have... I mean, the fucking beginning of Dr. Sleep is some fucking scary shit with that little kid when she sucks the shining out of him. So the whole purpose of the Shining movie, it doesn't even fit in what the title's telling me. It's like, this is The Shining. And then they explain what The Shining is, but they never...
got it, kid.
You got it, kid. But the whole point is the movie has nothing to do with it. It's just that this guy's a crazy guy. I've seen movies like that before. Plenty of movies like this before. Now, have I seen a movie like The Thing before, at least? No, I've never seen a movie like that before. So, to me, I would go... Now, keep in mind, and I bring this up, I didn't watch The Thing in full until like 2 years ago. I've seen bits and pieces, but I finally sat down and said, I got to watch this entire movie from front to back. And right off the bat, it was the top 5 of my favorite movies.
I have a question for you then. Why was it that it took you that long to watch that movie fully?
I can't sit still half the time. It was on television.
But
you get commercials.
That didn't stop you from watching The Shining or anything else that it full on through as equally as old.
Well,
so
The Shining,
what was it about the Thing that you couldn't just invest hour and 40 minutes of?
Well, I remember when I was watching it, because usually the time I would see it is on television. And like when you're watching it on TV, you're like, I caught it towards the middle or I caught it towards the end and I didn't really get an opportunity. I don't know what the fuck is going on. So The Shining, I owned. My parents owned The Shining. So I was able to actually put the VCR tape in and sit there and actually watch the movie. I wasn't supposed to, but I ended up doing it anyway. They didn't own The Thing. Okay, they never sat and owned
to like the popularity of it too now, right? Like so I agree with you. I've seen both movies kind of like in bits and pieces growing up. But it was always the Shining I saw full through in a younger age, just because it was that lore of like, yo, this movie is pretty sick. And you watch a scene or two and you kind of get invested. And then the commercial comes and then you're like, oh, fuck this. Like when you got old enough to be like, yo, I'm going to rent this VHS or I'm going to, rent the DVD and watch it full on through, or, you know what I mean? And that's what I did. Right. With The Thing, and to your point again, like I would watch it with the commercials and shit. And I've seen bits and pieces of it. I'm just like, there's a lot of shit going on there. Right. And like, yes, I don't know what's going on full on through, but neither did I did in The Shining. But for some reason, I'm more invested in like this guy Jack's character than what the fuck they're shooting about over there. You know what I mean?
I'm on the other side.
And I guess, but then how come it took you so long to watch it full through?
Because I'm one of those people that needs to actually sit down and watch the movie.
So what stopped you from doing that 10 years ago?
10 years ago, I wasn't interested in watching all those movies.
So when was the first time you saw The Shining full through?
Full through? Like yes. Where I can pay attention and realize everything that's happening? Because I've seen the movie full through when I was a kid. When I was a kid, I watched it in full.
Did you see The Thing when you were a kid?
No, I just said that I watched it full through 2 years ago.
Right.
And it became a top 5 favorite movie immediately. Okay. I was like, this shit is nearly perfection. And my top favorite movies, I don't play games with my top favorite movies. So to get in my top 5, you got to be good. Shining's not even in my top 10. But I'll tell you, The Thing is directed great. It's well acted, and just the story base of it, it's fucking insane. And I love those kind of movies. I love insane movies. I love movies like Jaws, Terminator 2. You know, when I think psychological horror, I don't go to The Thing. I don't go to The Shining.
No, I don't either.
I go to The Shining. I said The Shining. I don't go to The Shining when I think psychological horror. I go to Silence of the Lambs, which is a fucking million times better than The Shining. So to me, it's still good. I would never knock it because it's a classic. It's a very fucking good movie, but I feel like it's more of a awe type of movie, like a wow, look at that scene, and wow, look at this scene, and then oh, here's blood coming down. Which again, those are classic scenes, but you can only name me classic scenes from this. You can go beat by.
Can you give me a classic scene from The Thing?
Yes.
Which one?
Plenty of them.
Which one?
The blood.
Okay, one.
When he actually goes to go clear, and then the fucking stomach opens up.
Mm-hmm. Give me another one. At least one more.
The ending,
which is
with Kurt Russell and fucking Keith David sitting there, about to share a drink, and he's not even sure if he wants to give him the drink or not.
Okay, now can you give me, besides the line at the end? No, I'm just gonna sit here and see what happens. Can you give me any other famous lines that are just iconic, that are just like verbatim, like if you hear it, you know exactly it's from the thing?
But I'm not talking about iconic lines. There's
you
no
just
no
started talking
way
about iconicness and watching,
but I'm not going to touch.
Iconic.
No, I'm
that
not touching
scene is
lines.
iconic. That scene is iconic. Well, doesn't that make that a better movie?
I'm not going to touch lines.
I'm gonna interject here just for a second, because you guys are talking about iconic as far as movies go, and any movie can be iconic but still not hold rank to be as good as it could be. You know, like there's plenty of movies out there that have iconic scenes or iconic lines, or maybe the whole movie is just an icon, but it still doesn't stand the test of time. I'm not arguing for either side here. I'm just interjecting to say that this is what you guys are focusing on, and I don't think that's valid for either movie, because it's a moot point for either movie.
Okay.
The iconicness of it doesn't make it good or bad. It just makes it iconic.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that makes a lot of sense.
That makes sense, but just to play devil's advocate over here, Sabrina, if you was to, the question would be the more iconic of the films, which one is more iconic?
If I'm voting for most iconic, it's going to be The Shining.
Okay.
Doesn't make it the best winter-themed horror film for me.
And that's what we got to raise back to the question. Now, when we ask the question, what is the better winter-themed, winter-based horror film? Winter doesn't play a true factor in The Shining as much as it does in The Thing. You know, you can do The Shining without winter. The ending would just have to change. He's not going to freeze to death.
I mean, you could do The Shining without The Shining, too.
You could do The Shining without The Shining and just call it a hotel.
If you remove The Shining, it would still be the same movie.
It would still be the same movie.
You can do The Thing without winter either. It doesn't have to be in Antarctica.
But winter played a factor.
Yes.
Why? Because they could have froze to death, just like if anyone else walked outside, they could freeze to death?
The alien was frozen.
The reason it was inhabiting people's body was because it was warm.
Because it was warm. That's one of the taglines of the movie.
The warmest place for it to hide.
The warmest place to hide is a human body. That was one of the taglines of the movie.
Yes.
So it needed the cold in order to even do that. So the
whole
Shining,
movie is based in the cold because it needs the cold.
It needs
kind of drive the story along.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that's what, makes it when they go outside, when like shit's getting real, and I mean, again, the fucking alien is frozen. Well, I don't know if we can call it it's an alien, but technically they call it a thing. But regardless, it's frozen. That's how it literally all begins. Prior to that, because obviously the dog but we have to go based on, if you're taking it based on the story. So the fucking the spaceship is in the fucking snow, in the ice. That's how they're able to find it. There's this big hole. That's why they're fucking there in the first place. Yeah, they're there for these. They actually were there. They were sent there because of what originally happens in the prequel. Again, that's why, even though the prequel wasn't that great, it tied in. It
explained a lot of shit.
Fucking perfect. Yes. Like, you were like, yeah, you can watch the prequel and then immediately watch the thing, and you're like, I didn't miss a fucking step. So it does. It ties in really great, and that's what the thing would. When it comes to The Shining, you could do it in fall. You can do it in fucking the summertime. You could do it on a beach. Like, it could be done anywhere. And my biggest problem was it's called The Shining, but doesn't focus on The Shining. That's a Stephen King thing, by the way. That has nothing to do with, that's how it was written. Doctor Sleep literally focuses on The Shining. So
it dives right into it.
It's literally.
I'm wondering if you could switch those two titles, because it seems like it would make more sense.
But I mean, you could, and now the other thing is, when it comes back, and I'm going back to like the actors and whatnot. Could you replace Jack Nicholson at that time? Is there anybody you could pick that could have played that same role? Not saying they would have did it better, but close, maybe close. Could anybody have maybe came a little close?
I feel like if you did replace him, it would not be as strong as of a movie.
Right. Yeah, I think so too.
I would agree too, because I believe Jack really, he drives that movie. You replace
he made that
him.
part his own.
Yeah, you replace him, it's a different fucking movie. Shelley Duvall could be replaced by anybody. She did a great job. I'm not saying she didn't do a great job, but I feel
a chick that could scream, you're fine.
Yeah, and make.
I mean, didn't they kind of do her dirty by not telling her what certain scenes were happening to just scare the shit out of her?
Well, yeah. Kubrick was an asshole. That was the one biggest thing. She said
she'd never work with him again.
She made it very clear she would never work with him ever again. And from there, she didn't do much afterwards.
You could get a chick that could scream, but they'd still probably make her traumatized anyway.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
It's all for the wellness of the movie.
And I feel like
it was for the movie.
It was exactly. It worked for the movie.
It scarier.
It made it, and that's the thing when it comes to
absolutely.
When it comes to fear, right? Fear itself. When you watched The Shining, were you scared?
No, not really. There was one scene that scared me, but then
and when I mean scared, I mean like you were like it was embedded into your brain. You couldn't go to sleep. Like I'm talking about fear.
Yeah, there was one scene that was definitely embedded in my brain, but it wasn't exactly like, oh, I can't go to sleep. It was just like, whoa, yeah, all right. Yeah. Like I think we touched upon like our feelings of fear in further episode. I can't remember which one it was, of how like, Tommy, you don't necessarily jump or scream, but like you feel that tightness in your chest and you just kind of freeze.
You freeze, yeah.
Versus like other people screaming. I had that feeling in The Shining, but I actually jumped in the thing.
Oh yeah, I've jumped in the thing. That blood scene, I didn't fucking expect that. That scene to the point that even Kurt Russell himself, who knew it was happening, jumped. Because he was like, okay, here we go. He goes, whoa. You could see it. He's actually using like a prosthetic arm, whatnot. That's not really his hand. So he knows that when he goes to click it, the fucking thing's going to pop out. And that scene is so fucking well done. It's just, you got them tied up. They're all focused. He's going, and it's so tense, so much suspense. Just, nope, you're good. Nope, you're good. Nope, you're good. And then they start arguing, and he's just sitting there like, guys, shut up.
Tied up over here.
Like, come on, I'm tied up. Get me the fuck off here. Blah, blah, blah. And then they're all sitting there going back and forth, and just boom, and then something happens. That scene I felt was just fucking fantastic. I love that scene.
So I guess I have to ask you guys, which one would you think was more suspenseful?
Suspenseful? Ooh. Mm-hmm. Suspenseful. That's a tough one. That's a tough question because they're both suspense movies.
They both got you.
I would say The Shining.
Like, fuck, what's going to happen next?
I would say The Shining.
They definitely have your attention.
I would say The Shining.
See what's going to happen next, but
I would say The Shining is more suspenseful.
I would agree with that.
The score really plays a factor with that. The setting plays an even bigger factor with that because it's just in a fucking hotel, and
the way it was shot as well too, with the big shots and just him in it.
Very well directed, 1,000%. And I also feel the colors play a huge factor of that. But another thing that makes it more suspenseful, I can't get the words out, is we're not just following one character. We're following Jack. We're following Shelley Duvall. We're following Danny. We're following the black dude. I forgot his name. We're following him too. So you're seeing these random scenes that come out of nowhere where now you're like, where are we going now? Where is this taking me? So that would be more suspenseful for me. With at least The Thing, you're just going for the ride. You don't know where's Kurt Russell going next.
Yeah, and I feel like the suspense and the build up towards the climactical ending was a little bit better done in The Shining as well too, just because of those scenes that you're following each one, and then they all kind of come together, tied up towards the end with that big chase. I felt like that had more of an impact and had a better climactic ending than because we have a lot of action in the thing throughout the whole entire movie.
Oh,
right.
yeah.
So we don't have no kind of like real build up to like that final battle. You know what I mean? Which is not a bad thing. It's just different, right? But that plays in the suspense factor too. The more suspenseful and the more thrilling. You know what I mean? Just because of that slow burn into that huge thing that everything's coming at you. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'd agree with that.
the ending of the thing is when we get to see the doctor again, and he's just fucking got everything coming out, and it's nasty.
Yeah,
it's gross. It's got like it's a great puppeteer work, by the way. Amazing puppeteer work. I don't even know if the Henson Company did it. We should probably double check. It's very possible the Henson Company was involved in this. But when you get like the dog head coming out, and then his head's over here, and this one's over here, and all these people, it's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Oh, it's fucking
that beautiful disgust.
But it's amazing.
Yes.
And that's what I mean. Like, I feel when it comes to suspense, I would give it to The Shining because, again, you don't know where the next turn's coming. Danny's on the bike. He makes a turn. Girls are there. What are they doing there? Oh, they're dead. Oh, they're alive. Oh, they're dead. Oh, they're alive. Oh, so now you're sitting there. You know how, like, in the one scene where, hold on, I want to get his name right because I feel like I'm a fucking idiot not saying his name right. Dick. That's the black dude.
What a dick.
His name's Dick.
I was going to say, what'd you call me?
His name's Dick. And there's that one scene where he's laying in bed and his eyes are open and his mouth is open. Just same thing with like how Danny is because they have The Shining. Yep. Like you're sitting there being like, what the fuck is going on? Like, what is happening right now? And it's mostly because him and Danny kind of have that weird, you can communicate kind of thing.
The connection.
The Shining. But I feel with that movie, they don't touch on it more. Like that's the big, it's about Jack, and Jack is crazy, and Jack's going to get an axe, and he's going to fucking hit Dick right in the chest with it while Dick's wearing a big ass fucking coat. So you don't get no blood out of it really. So I feel the deaths, when you compare death, The Thing is 20 times better when it comes to death. Because you get
100%.
I mean, we don't really get a lot of death in The Shining.
Because I don't think it needs death. Mm-hmm. The Shining, like
it's creepy enough that it really doesn't need
see
death.
If it's the Henson Company.
However, I feel like towards the end, it could have done a little bit more.
I mean, yeah, axe to the chest doesn't really scream horror, right? Like, yes,
even
it
an
does.
Axe, axe to the chest does scream
totally fucking
horror, but it doesn't necessarily scream death to me. If you take an axe to the chest and you're not wearing a big puffy coat, yeah, I totally understand how that's gonna, cut through your entire sternum and your rib cage.
Ouch.
When you're wearing like layers, you've got like a little bit of a chance. Jack didn't seem like he was, all full force willing to hack and slash. It seems like he was just trying to remove an inconvenience, which means, there may have been a chance that he could have lived, but I guess not.
Right.
Pretty much.
Mean,
at least in my horror movie logic, like,
yeah,
there's a chance there just because there was a little something else.
It's a slight chance. I actually remember when I watched it, I thought Dick, I was like, Dick, he could be okay with this. Like, that's just one, bro. That's a good shot.
Like, he could be injured pretty badly,
he
but not necessarily dead.
He ain't standing up anytime soon. No. He ain't going to be walking out the door saving the day. Like, but if like when
he's definitely not going to be the hero. But
but if they're going to
find him alive,
yes, if they're getting rescued and there's an ambulance there, I can see Dick being like lifted in a helicopter, and they're like, yeah, no, he's still alive. He's just really fucked up, like the shit like that.
If Dewey from Scream can last 6 films. Or 5 films. Like, I'm pretty sure Dick could have survived the axe to the chest.
But in The Thing...
And then he could have been in Dr. Sleep.
Yes.
But nope.
No, he wasn't. But I'll tell you this. In The Thing, nobody survived.
No.
No one survived.
Those are definitely...
Because even if they both were...
100% definite death.
Both... Childs and McGreedy, even if they're both not things, let's just say... Carpenter said one of them is. But let's just say they're not. Let's say they were both humans. They're both dead. Mm-hmm. They're going to freeze to death. They knew at that point they're going to die. Both of them knew we're going to die. The question is who's going first? And 100%. I feel that's how McGreedy was with that moment. Like, he knew. That's why he gives him that bottle. And he's just like, here you go, man. Takes the bottle. And he's just staring him down. Just like, I know most likely you are a thing. You're one of the fucking things. I know I'm pretty much dead anyway. I'm going out with a fucking battle right now. He was
pretty much, you know,
anyway.
you're going to die, but how do you want to die?
Yeah, do you want to freeze
have
to
control
death?
over that to some degree.
Do you want to freeze to death? Do you want to go down fighting? Regardless, the thing itself wasn't going anywhere. Everything. Oh, the helicopter was destroyed. They couldn't call for help. All this shit. Yep. It's completely destroyed. If they ever wanted to make a sequel, it wouldn't make sense. They can't make a sequel to that movie, but they made a prequel. So I feel when it comes to the end, the Shining has a happy ending. A nice, they did it. They're gone. They're safe. The thing is, like, I still don't know what's happening.
Too, like with Jack Nicholson, and we still don't really know what's happening.
No, we don't.
We alluded to that. Like, you know what I mean? Sure, it ended kind of successfully, right? Everyone, all right, well, we got the fuck out of there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we
right, yeah. It felt wrapped up for sure. It wasn't that much of an open ending, but you still get that, like, why is he in the picture kind of shit.
Oh, of course. It's very.
It gives you questions to ask, but like since he's frozen and gone, like he's essentially dead.
Yeah, he's
the picture
dead.
Leaves questions, but I mean it's still wrapped up. Like, oh my gosh, what happened? Doesn't matter. He's still dead.
He's dead.
That's the thing. There's still chaos to be shed.
We don't know, and we may never know. It's possible. We may never know who the thing is. Only 3 people know. And here's the crazy part. The writers of the movie, they don't know. John Carpenter was one of the writers, but the other writers, the producers, nobody knows. And he's keeping it that way. He's like, only 3 of us
it's
fucking
locked
knows.
in the vault.
That's it. He goes, 3 people know. And maybe on his deathbed, he'll tell us, or he may not. He's a horror icon. He don't need to tell us shit.
I think I might go grab like the DVD somewhere or the Blu-rays, get some extra content, see if they give away anything.
Well, that's
I really, really hope that he takes that all the way to his grave.
Take it to your grave,
just
man.
To keep everyone on their toes.
Take it to
because
the
I feel like
grave.
the whole premise of the thing is not to know, and the fear of not knowing and not trusting. And I feel like it'll only ruin it, not super ruin it, but it'll ruin it just a little bit for me in the end if I'm told which one it is.
Because it makes it more fun when you're watching it. I mean, there are legitimate YouTube videos that are dissecting this fucking movie. Ain't nobody dissecting The Shining. They're dissecting the thing. And they're like, we need to figure out, is Child's a thing? And then technically we get to the prequel where the prequel is mentioning that it can't, with the earrings and shit. But Child's had an earing in his fucking ear. So
yeah, it can't
was
replicate
that
anything non-organic.
That's what I was looking for, replicate. But like, here's the questions now. Like, was that a mistake by the writers for the prequel, or did they know this and now they're fucking with us to be like, well, now it's Kurt Russell. He's got to be a thing.
That's what I mean. There's a solid chance there. I'm sorry, my cat is like super affectionate right now.
Yeah, the misdirection.
It's Gizmo.
I feel like it's just the perfect misdirection of it could be either one, but you won't know yet. But I firmly believe that it's Kurt Russell. I don't want to know the answer. I never want to know the answer. I want to die before anyone figures out the true answer.
People have dissected and still don't know the answer.
I think that's part of the reason why the movie's so great, right? Because you can have that conversation of like, well, who is it? And then we can still have that open-ended question. And I feel like by knowing it kind of, like you said, ruins the lore, right? So it's almost like, yeah, it's one of those better off not knowing kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then
whereas like, I do want answers from The Shining. I actively want to search for those answers to be like, what the hell is going on? Why is he in this picture? Was he dead before? Is he dead? Versus the thing I do not want answers.
Yeah. So, I mean, so they said like Kluber first said that like, well, Stephen King said that like, well, when you see the picture, it was almost like that. The hotel kind of like absorbed Jack's soul. Right. But then Kubrick said to himself that like, it's actually suggesting that Jack was a reincarnation of an earlier official at the hotel.
Okay.
Right. So it's kind of like both, you know what I mean? Like, well, Stephen King wrote the book, right? But, you know, the director could have meant something else by like having that at the end, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I do like the thought of it being, it's a picture not of people that worked at the hotel, but lives that the hotel has claimed.
Right.
I do really like that thought.
It's like the end of Titanic
definitely.
where they're waiting for her.
Yeah.
There's like that whole concept of being like, is she dead? Is she dreaming? Like, that type of shit. Are we dead? Are we dreaming? Like, I don't know what's going on.
Leo was waiting for her at the steps and she grabs him and that's her dying kind of shit.
That's what I always said. That's what I always thought. But there are people that fight
welcome
that.
to the afterlife.
Yep.
But people fight that and be like, no, she's sleeping. She's dreaming. And you're like, are you sure? I'm pretty sure she's dead. So I feel like that ending gives you that kind of vibe where that's a good way to say it. Like maybe the hotel sucks the soul, or maybe maybe it's a time machine kind of thing, like a Donnie Darko kind of shit, because that's fucking you go really deep.
Oh, yeah.
But when I bring back the question. It asks again, what is the best winter-themed horror film? And I will always say it has to be The Thing, because without the winter, different movie. Completely different movie, The Shining can be done without fucking snow. The ending just has to change.
Would it hit the same, right? We wouldn't know because we haven't seen a different version of it.
Well, I don't know. Picture him at a beach.
Would it hit the same if you didn't have the setting of the storm and like not calling for help and the power lines down and shit like that to isolate them?
Same thing with The Thing.
I feel like if you took that and gave it like a hurricane per se, like if you gave it a massive hurricane, a massive storm where the power was cut and they definitely couldn't call for help because emergency services don't operate when winds get too heavy, like it would still be the same movie just with a different type of storm.
Yeah, it just needs a different ending.
He wouldn't freeze to death outside, just a different ending where he dies.
Yeah, maybe he just drowns.
Maybe he
drowns.
runs outside and he, falls off the edge of the cliff and, rolls down into a ravine where there's a bunch of debris and snaps his neck. Who knows? But like if you give it a different storm, it's still the same movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I feel with The Thing, if you gave it a different storm, it wouldn't change. You have
it would be a different movie because The Thing
movie.
isn't trying to host people to stay warm anymore, and The Thing isn't released from like a rock, it's released from ice. It specifically needs that environment for that movie to take place.
Antarctica.
Yes.
It needs Antarctica. It's a perfect location. They're both set in perfect locations in the long run. Let's just be real for a second. They have this focus on the hotel. This is focused here on a base. Like they
pick perfect settings for both of these stories.
They placed them where they got to go to make good movie, to make good suspense. But without the winter, The Thing is not The Thing. Because the ending now makes no sense. Now you have to sit there and be like, well, somebody's got to be who's the thing? Because they're not going to. He left it to the point where it's like, it doesn't matter who the thing is. They're both dead.
Right.
Yes.
There's nobody else here for the thing to even survive with.
Yes. Nothing can survive.
Even if you fully transform, you're going to fucking freeze to death.
Exactly.
Right.
It's over. It doesn't matter. So someone's a thing. Regardless, they're going to die. And somebody can sit there and be like, well, because they're going to die, then who gives a shit? But then you can sit there and be like, okay, but who's the fucking guy? Who's the one?
It's the matter of how are you going to die? Whether you're the thing or not, how do you feel like dying? Because at that point, you have like a little stake in it. Are you dying because, the thing already killed you and now you're going to freeze to death? Or are you going to die from the elements?
I got something for you. Okay, you said you think it's Kurt Russell. Now, here's my question to you. If you're saying that it's Kurt Russell was the pilot. He was the guy that drove the helicopter.
Yep.
If he was a thing, why didn't he just get the fuck out of there?
Because then there'd be no movie.
That's not a good answer. I know a movie.
That's not.
I know a movie's got a movie. I understand that. But if he's the thing, the whole point of the thing was it was trying to get away. Because you got to remember, it wasn't attacking them. They were going after it, and it was technically in the long run defending itself.
Yeah.
So the thing can replicate behaviors, right?
And memory.
But can it operate intelligence?
I would say so.
Well, yeah. If it like adapts
It's
memory.
to the doctor.
I mean, intelligence are just like a step.
Because memory and intelligence are two different things. The ability to learn.
People go to school to learn things, and that's how.
But we also
you
gotta
remember how to do a math problem.
But you got to remember too.
Like right now, Tommy, you don't know how to fly a helicopter, but you could go learn how to fly a helicopter.
Of course.
And intelligence is going to help you learn that.
That's
and
correct.
if shit went down immediately, you would have to have critical thinking to figure it out, not just survival instinct.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, it might be able to fly a helicopter, but it may not be able to work in an emergency situation because Kurt Russell doesn't know it.
But it can fly a spaceship.
Yeah.
You're telling me
It
the thing?
can.
You're telling me it can
But
fly
are
a
you telling me
spaceship,
that a
but it can't
spaceship and a
fly a
helicopter are
helicopter?
okay?
But think about
The thing
when
could drive a car.
I keep going back to like, and this is like a class, right? We keep talking about like, how do you learn things, right? You get intelligence, yeah, but it's just not like certain people just have some intellect. It's
based on memory.
You know, that poise and everything. But yeah, it's about memory. We go to school, we learn and we memorize how to spell things. We learn and we memorize how to do this math problem. If you go into pilot school, you're learning and you're memorizing how to fly a plane. So if it can duplicate your brain and all your memories, you remember. Like it remembers it. Like, you know what I mean? The thing remembers, okay, this is how you fly a plane because I got all his memory.
Yeah, I can understand.
I guess I'm just
his
trying to
memories.
figure out the extent of it because, like, yeah,
It's an interesting
has
question.
memories, but instead of having a full like memory, because not everybody has a photographic memory.
True.
If you ask me how to drive a car, I could tell you the basics of it, but I'm not going to be able to tell you everything just based on memory unless I'm sitting in that car and actually doing it. And I go, oh, by the way, you also do this. Like I'm teaching you versus I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
So how far does that memory go for the thing?
I think the hardest thing for the thing to replicate was human emotion, because there were times that when you can sometimes, like the one guy when he does the fucking blood and that guy begins that great fucking scene where he's like melting off and shit, but you can see like he's trying to fit in. When you watch carefully, that's why like sometimes you can tell like he seems a little off. You know, it's just like, yeah, we definitely need to stick together. You know, because it's able to replicate you. It has your memory and whatnot, but it doesn't have a personality. It needs to try to.
It also doesn't have the same fear.
It doesn't have the same
because
fear.
they're afraid of it, and it is not afraid of itself.
And it needs to blend in.
It has no threat right there.
It needs to just be like, hey,
blend
man,
in.
I'm here too. What's up, dude?
Yeah.
How you doing? And you're just like, did you just say dude? No. Fuck. You know, and just fucking get shot. So that's what I think is also great, because in that movie, everybody's watching everybody. Not one person is trusted because one little thing you do that's not something maybe your norm to do. Maybe you're just, because you don't know how people act when they're afraid. Some people freak out and then they start acting different than maybe they normally would in a calm situation. So you won't know. And you might blow somebody's fucking brain out, which in the movie does happen. People get killed that are not things. They are normal people.
It's just because they're inconsistent in one aspect, because they're being viewed at under a microscope as fair.
Little bit of inconsistency. And that, right, that's another huge part of suspense. Again, it doesn't compare to The Shining suspense, but that's thrill right there. The Thing is way more
very psychological horror.
Way more of a thriller than The Shining, because we are going for the ride. That shit starts, we are going. Even like when you see the dog walks into that room, but you see a silhouette, but you don't know who the fuck it is. You don't know who the fuck it is. And you're like, well, what is that? Who is that?
So yeah, it's definitely the sci-fi thriller horror, right?
Yeah.
And whether the Shining's more of like suspense horror, right? I wouldn't say it's too much of a thriller. Because
I wouldn't say it's a thriller.
when you think about thriller, it's exactly what we said, right? It's action packed. It's like goes. It just keeps going, right? Whether the action is explosions and shit like that, or like straight killing, right? Like that, that's what a good thriller is like, and just keeps you on your toes. Just like, yo, if you get up to the bathroom, you might miss something. You got me? Like, with The Shining, like you're invested. Right. But it is that slow burn. Right. You may still miss something, but you could kind of feel like, all right, I got to go pee. Some shit just happened. The blood just came down from the elevator. I can go pee now. Like, you got me? Because we're probably not going to see nothing we're probably not going to see something really big, significant, like that. I'll be like, fuck, I missed that. Like for another 3 minutes or 4 minutes. Like I'm good.
It's easy to pick back up after your bathroom break of what happened based on context clues versus having to rewind it.
Yeah. And I guess that brings it back to the argument that you had earlier, Tommy, with the whole like, oh well, when I first started like watching both these movies, they were like on TV with commercials. It's all right, Sabrina. We'll tell you about that time off air because I know that's you probably never. Anyway,
Context for story.
but yeah, no, so it's almost like shit. Like so much stuff is going on. Now there was 5 other people before. Now there's only 3. Like what happened to the 5? Like, all right, I gotta stop this because like I gotta watch this full through. I don't know when, but I'm gonna, right? The Shining, it's almost like no matter like you sit down and it's just like, oh no, this is gonna be good. Watch, right? Right before like the commercial just ended, but we're gonna get into some shit. Then the commercial is gonna end again. Like we're gonna get another commercial. We could go do whatever and then come back, right? Like you always come back and something else is going to happen, right? Which I mean, you could take it as a negative and a positive, I guess.
I
right?
would say, yeah, it's a negative and a positive because I feel that at that point, then you're not grabbing me anymore. If I have to sit there and be like, oh, well, something else is coming. But if I come back and I miss something, that's why, like, again, when it brings me back to what the thing was, where it's like I caught it in the middle and I caught it towards the end and I'm like, this is TV time. I can't rewind. And I'm sitting there thinking like, no, I don't want to. I want to watch this movie and sit down and watch the full thing. And then life happened and, I went outside and I played outside and I had baseball and there were girls and I stopped really watching films like that. And then finally, one day I sat down and now I watch, I'm almost at 200 movies this year. 174 movies I've watched this year. I watch movies now, okay? Yeah, I watch movies now, and I sit down and I really take in the movie. So when I had the opportunity to finally sit down and watch The Thing, which Christian watched it with me, he also watched The Shining with me. He likes The Thing more. It's that action pack, Again, you look at my favorite movies, there's action involved in these movies, except, well, even in Silence of the Lambs. But, I'm a huge Terminator guy. Action pack 1, 2, 3.
Well, you like the action pack stuff, right? You don't like those slow burns. Me, I've always, I love them too, but I always like the movies that give you those contexts where you're like, if you're gonna talk to me, make sure like you're giving me some shit in your dialogue, right? Mm-hmm. Like make sure of it, right? And like going to your point, like, and this is not a horror movie, but like not the Godfather, the Goodfellas, right? Goodfellas. That was another movie that I saw like with on TV Saturday afternoon movies, and like even if you catch it after a commercial, you're like, I'm watching this shit. Mm-hmm. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can sit down and start watching it no matter where it is in the movie, what point of it is in the movie, you sitting down and it just fucking grabs you. And that's what I feel like The Shining does. It fucking grabs you and it doesn't even matter what you missed. You're like, oh, like I'm in it. Let's do this. And that's why I feel like it's the better movie here, right? It's because of that, because of the iconic scenes and stuff like that. But again, the question is the best winter-based horror movie, right? That goes back to the question.
Right. Goes back to the question.
Which, we could continue this forever. And the bell is going to ring soon, guys. So like right off the bat, it is a versus, right? It is the first stage of winter. The Who You Got challenge, that's over. But we always end these discussions with a vote, right? And I think it's only right that we bring this down to the vote, right? And if you want to say some closing remarks, some like leaning into your points or whatever may have you, we're gonna open it up for that, right? So yeah, let's get into it now. Let's dive right in. So Sabrina Ace. Closing statements for The Thing versus The Shining, and then place your vote.
So there are great points for both films. I just need to make that abundantly clear. Both of them have very strong points. Some favor for others, such as suspense or for the kills. But honestly, just it comes to the forefront of my mind when we're saying the best horror winter film. I do have to give it to The Thing. Just the environment calls for it. And again, I've already said it, where if you take The Shining out of The Shining or you give it a different storm that creates the same effects, you're still going to have that film. But for a winter themed film, it has to be The Thing. It doesn't even have to be Christmas center. It's just winter. It's the environment. And I think The Thing has it overall. Plus, I just love the kills. Let's be honest. I love all the kills. If I have a horror film where there's one kill and it's not something huge, it's not so drastic that it affects every single character and the main characters themselves, it just kind of falls off for me. And I love The Shining. I do. It's a fantastic film, but for winter themed horror film, gotta give it to The Thing.
The Thing. Okay, fair enough. Great arguments and great reasoning behind it too. Smooth Effect.
I mean, I'm on the same boat as Sabrina, and I bring it back to just the fact of what is the question. And I always say this when we do Who You Got challenges, because that was the biggest issue when it goes to the con goers, to the listeners, to the people. They don't listen to the question. The question is, what's the best or better winter-based, winter-themed horror film? Without winter, you don't have The Thing. You can do The Shining in other places. You can do that. So, yes, The Thing would be the correct answer. Now, if you change the question, maybe what's the best psychological horror film? Different topic, different discussion.
Or maybe just like the best horror film.
That's a tough question, too, because then it really braces down of what's your flavor? What are you into? So to even ask, I feel that question's too broad. That's too hard to even answer. A great discussion, though. But to ask, because it's so strict it's winter plays a factor, hence the winter's in the question. You know, if you were doing an essay and you go, it's The Shining because Jack Nicholson's great, blah, 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 you're not getting credit because you didn't answer the question. Answer the question and explain why. Explain why is saying literally, without winter or snow or ice, because they never said when it took place. They never said it was Christmas or anything. Could have been February. Yeah. We don't know. But regardless, without it, I mean, it's Antarctica, so it could be at any...
It could have been August.
It could have been fucking August. But regardless, without the snow, without the winter, you don't have a movie. It's a completely different movie. It's Aliens. You're watching Aliens in the long run.
Aliens.
Right, because then they don't need the host to stay cold. I mean, to stay warm.
And they don't need because they just impregnate you and then it comes out and then you're dead anyway. So regardless, without the snow, without the winter, you don't have a movie. So yes, it would have to be The Thing based on the question that's being asked. Winter's in the question, so you have to focus there. Those people did not focus there. Jack Nicholson does not make a winter movie.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough point for sure. And another vote for The Thing. And it's rightfully so, right? We all go back to the question and the context clues of everything else, right? Right. We've talked about it. And in my opinion, I feel like the better like horror movie, and there's a different discussion, is The Shining. Just because it gets you everything you need. And remember, like, and I love kills more than everyone else. We've all established it in this semester that all three of us love us some gore, love us some blood, and we love the kills, right? But some of the best horror movies, and my favorite horror movie, and a few of you is on the top 5 list of horror movies, don't really have kills. The Conjuring, like, I say it right there, that doesn't have any kills in it, right? And it's still deemed one of the best fucking horror movies to date, right? So I don't necessarily think that it needs all the kills to be a good horror movie, hence why The Shining only had those 1 or 2 kills with Jack in it, and it still holds up the lore as one of the best horror movies. I still feel that way in this argument as well, but again, it deems down to the question, right? With the the winter-based horror movies, right? Without The Thing getting trapped in the ice and then bringing them back up, you know what I mean? We don't have a movie, right? So I think it leans more heavily on that winter aspect in The Thing than it does in The Shining. And for those reasons, I have to feel like that's the better winter-based horror movie, right? But you know, so I'm voting for it as well as the best winter-based horror movie based on the question that we asked. All right. So first of all, let's give it its flowers. So that means that The Thing, being the best winter-based horror movie, gets a second round.
All around.
Right. But hence the reason why I won, is because you have to understand.
Because people are stupid.
Well, not even that. It's also you have to understand that when we always said it, when we go to these cons, it's out of our hands now.
Oh,
we
yeah.
can't even argue with them because it's illegal, right? So
Yes.
you have to understand the popularity of things, right?
Oh,
And
we
for
went
those,
with which one's the more popular movie. We automatically know.
I
which
think
one's
if you
win.
change the question, not to just to throw you off, but I think if you change the question, like how you said, like what's the better horror movie? Because I'm not gonna say best, because best means nothing can beat it.
Yeah.
What's the better horror? What's the better horror movie? I would say you could change the question to what's the better movie, and
right.
people would immediately say The Shining. Personally, I'd have to watch both movies again, and I'd have to watch it with different lenses because, that's how you can do this correctly. So, and it might be The Shining. The Shining might be a better movie. Script, directing, lore, cinema photography,
all that,
score. That plays what makes a better movie. But because, again, and I'd say it, the question said winter-based changes the whole entire question, and now you have to focus on winter. You have to focus on what makes the movie based for winter. So, and as you were saying, people, when you go to conventions, they don't pay attention like that. Some do. Some actually answer it.
Do.
And when you get somebody to give you a real answer, you see that they got it. You're like, okay, you got the fucking question. When when you respond Jack Nicholson, that does not answer the question.
Yep. And to your point, and shout out to NYC Ghostbusters, because they made a crazy argument with the thing, right? Because they actually paid attention to the question, right? They were just like, look, listen, like if you're talking about the winter and everything else like that, we're in fucking Antarctica in the thing. Right, we're somewhere in fucking Maine and in The Shining, or it could be Vermont. It could be literally any mountain town.
Yes, it could be Denver.
That's where we are. Right, you get me? Like, so with the thing, it had to be in Antarctica, maybe Alaska, but like it had to be in a place where it was cold because that's where it crash landed, and so on and so forth. Right, so like at the end of the day, they got it, and they were even saying it, all the other times, like you get lost in the lore and the popularity of some things, and you forget to actually critique the movies for what they are and for what the question is.
That's what makes us who we are.
Exactly. Because we get to talk about this, break it down, and come up to our own conclusions, right?
That's right.
And you can agree with us, you can not agree with us, but this is why we do stuff like this. And we always love doing things like this and comparing and contrasting and putting these great movies and great characters together, and to just break them down in different scenarios, right? Just because and you alluded to that too, Tommy, that like you change the question up, same movies, you might get a different answer.
1,000%. You'll get a different answer from me.
You won't, you said?
No, you would.
He said he will.
Oh, you will.
You would.
Yes, exactly.
I'd have to rewatch. Again, I always feel, especially in movie-based, I always consider myself the movie guy. Because of that, I have to watch it and put different lenses on. Am I looking to do this because of pleasure, like of me just enjoying it? I missed it. I was looking down. Something happened.
Sorry.
Gizmo jumped.
Gizmo jumped? Oh,
right over her.
Fucking Gizmo.
For those of you listening, Gizmo
a door
is
opened,
Sabrina's
That's
cat.
Sabrina's cat.
Yeah.
So
He was sitting on my
yes.
lap, door open. He just fucking decided to.
She was doing her
dart.
best
I was
Dr.
just- it's
Evil
fine.
impression by petting her cat, and then
very
she
nice.
just jumped right over her shoulder.
His tail whipped me in the face a little. It's fine.
Nice. I'm mad I missed that now. But it's the lenses.
Sorry to interrupt.
It's the lenses that you use when
Yep.
watching a film. And again, like I said, if you change the question, it's very possible that my answer might change.
Yep. And yeah, you know what? And I just want to take this time out right now to thank everyone listening right now. And took this ride with us this semester in helping, in putting on those same lenses like we did, and taking the ride and breaking it down. And hopefully you got some stuff out of it too. And if you did, don't forget to subscribe, and enroll, because semester 2 is coming out, and the syllabus will be out soon. But if you want to be on, and if you want to come to class, then please, the only way to do that is by liking, subscribing, commenting, and enrolling in Night School Horror. Right? Because you're going to get more of it. We're going to break it down, and we have to do some more of these crazy scenarios with these amazing movies, amazing characters, just like we all know how to do. And yeah, before, I want to give everyone a chance to say their goodbyes for the semester before winter break. So I'm going to start with ladies first, like always. Sabrina Ace, Say your goodbyes.
I had so much fun this semester, and I have to thank you guys because this has been a wild ride from just every discussion that we've had so far, whether it be about movies, video games, what have you, whether it be just about a random topic in general that has to do with horror. You guys have made it so much fun to just be able to sit here and do this. And for all of our listeners, I greatly appreciate every bit of feedback that I've gotten, even just personally from friends or family or from coworkers, even just to say thank you. And you guys have given me so much to think about. And I'm so excited for next semester and for things to come.
Love that. Love that. And thank you, Sabrina Ace.
Oh,
you
yeah.
have almost a perfect attendance, honestly. You know what I mean? Like it was fantastic.
I try.
And you definitely bring an aspect to the show that, well, to the class that we all well and love. All right. And glad that you already enrolled in season 2. Well, episode, damn it, semester 2. You know what I'm trying to say here, people.
It's season 2.
Yeah. All right. Smooth effect.
I mean, this was a great time, man. We've had many. We've done this. Me and Mista Malave, we have done this for a long time. Okay, 9 years in 2024, man.
Woo.
We've 9 years being in second rounds, and now we're able to come up with all these crazy ideas, and some of them stick and some of them don't. But this one stuck. Okay, this one's fun. And we're able to learn, and that was one thing about second rounds that we always said. It's not only are we just insane and we talk about all this shit, but we're all not geniuses, and we're able to learn from one another. I learned a lot this semester, and I can't wait for, season 2 or the second semester to learn even more, watch more movies, talk about some video games. Maybe we'll talk about a television show. There's so much involved in horror, and with the horror conventions, people listen, they love to see us. We love to see them. Thank you for everybody that's listening, that continues on listening. Again, this is an open forum. You are more than welcome to come on. You got to enroll. If you don't enroll, you can't enter the classroom. Those are fucking facts. But I do agree with Mista Malave. I would love to do more scenarios again with different movies, TV, or anything you could talk about. It was absolutely absurd. So it'd be a lot of fun to discuss and show a little logic in there.
Yeah, no, definitely, man. And you definitely hit it on the nail when you said, we come in here, you can learn something from each other. You can just have a good time, grab yourself a drink, listen, and just participate. I found out Krampus hates the Jews. You know what I mean? And that was all.
And he loves Ferrero Rochers.
And he definitely does. You know what I mean? And candy apples, he'll be your best friends. But yeah, no, it's definitely gonna be it's definitely going to be a great semester too. And hopefully it includes you too. But one thing I just want to say before we all leave is Feliz Navidad, Prospero Año y Felicidad, because we all know that's the better holiday song.
Sure.
If you don't know.
And Happy New Year.
And
you
Happy
just
New
say
Year.
Feliz Navidad, yes.
Well, I did say Prospero Año y Felicidad. That's what it means. So.
Does that mean Happy New Year?
Yeah.
And we're learning Spanish on this episode. Look at this. We learned Spanish this.
Oh,
semester we learned Spanish
second
too.
semester, all Spanish.
Oh, wait. Not now.
Wait till
now
I
you're
teach y'all
onto
some
something.
German.
Hola.
Well, you know what? Maybe we'll do some
German.
foreign horror films. Those are good.
I'm always down for
I got
movies.
a little list.
I'm down
So
for that.
Oh
let's
yeah,
go.
yeah.
I'm down for that.
I think maybe maybe Hispanic Heritage Month we'll do that.
Ooh.
Okay.
Anyway, we can continue all this time, but guys, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. We'll see you in semester 2. And for me, the longest reigning Who You Got champion, it's 600 days and counting. Mista Malave, aka Matthew Malave, for Night School Horror. We bid you a Happy New Year. Peace.
I know it sounds absurd,